Morning students, hope you all are safe and healthy at home. So we have already discussed the first chapter, that is computer hardware, internal and external devices. So today we are going to discuss about the next topic, that is internal devices, internal hardware devices. So what are the internal hardware devices which are inside the CPU cabinet? Clear? The devices which are inside the CPU cabinet which are not visible outside, that is called internal hardware devices. And what they are, so you must have seen in your book also. You can look at your page number 4 of your book. So you can see here the hardware, internal hardwares are mainly motherboard, power supply, ports, hard drive, RAM and CPU. Clear? So these are the devices which are inside the CPU cabinet, which motherboard. So what is motherboard here? It is a device inside the CPU cabinet which have some ports and connectors on that. You will see the CPU is also mounted over this motherboard, which is also known as processor. You can see it is labeled there in the figure, processor. Clear? Processor is also known as CPU, central processing unit. So as the name is indicated there, this is electronic centerpiece of the computer. Even if everything else connect to the motherboard. So whatever the things we are connecting, like mouse, keyboard, pen drives, RAM, power supply, hard disk drive, CD drive, whatever the device is there in your computer, in your CPU, they all are connected via cable with this motherboard. The motherboards have some ports which are backside of the CPU cabinet, where we insert these cables to connect the device with the motherboard, like mouse, keyboard, printer, scanner, whatever the things we are inserting. There is a USB port, there is a HDMI port and some other different ports are there. You can see here in this motherboard, it is labeled with some figures there. You can see a processor here. Processor is also known as CPU, as I told you. There is a RAM connector. Here we can connect RAM also. RAM is a random access memory. You must have learned in the previous class also. It is a random access memory, a device which connects on this port, that is called RAM. And downside you can see there is a power supply. The power supply cable connects here on this port. And next one is SATA 2. What is SATA 2? SATA 2 is the name of the cable of that is hard disk cable. The hard disk drive cable connects on this port, that is called SATA port, where we connect the hard disk. Clear? So this whole overall this part, we can say it is a motherboard which has some ports and ports to connect different devices. Clear? It is inside the CPU cabinet, that's why it is called internal device. Fine. So come to the next device, that is power supply, in short which is called SMPS. Clear? Switch mode power supply. You should underline this full form, so it will be easy to understand, and in your exams or test it can be asked. So underline this or learn it. So what it does, the power supply or SMPS converts a high voltage power into low voltage power. A computer works with low voltage power only, thus power supply is very important and useful component. So this is the device you can see in the figure also. So this is called SMPS or power supply, which circulates the electricity to different part of the computer. Clear? So it gives the power so that your computer gets started. Clear? And it works on low voltage. It converts the high voltage into low voltage, because computer system parts are working on low voltage, so this device converts into low voltage and it provides different provides voltage or electricity to the different parts of the computer, including internal or external. Clear? So this is called SMPS, switch mode power supply. Now the next device is CPU, a central processing unit, also called a central processor or main processor, or you can say just processor. It is the electronic circuitry that executes instructions, comprises a computer program. The CPU performs basic arithmetic, logic, controlling and input-output operations specified by the instruction in the program. That whatever the instructions you give to the computer via mouse, keyboard and any other devices, it directly goes to the CPU, where CPU decides and process the data as per your instruction and gives the result on the monitor screen. For example, you have given a command, you have given some calculation to the computer like 2 plus 2. So where 2 is the data, plus is the instruction, and after instruction, when it is processed by the CPU, you get the result on the monitor screen, that is 4. 2 plus 2, 4, where 2 was data and the plus symbol, it was called, it can be instruction that you have given to perform. So as per your instruction, CPU processed it and gives the result on the monitor screen, that is as an output, that you can say the answer 4 which comes, it is your output, which is processed by CPU only. Like that, the different number of instructions that we give to the computer, it processed like that only, and then you get the result on a monitor screen. I hope you all have understood this. If you still have any questions, so you can ask me again. Clear? The next device is internal devices, RAM, that is random access memory. It is a form of computer memory that can be read and write and change in order, typically used to store working data and machine code. For example, in a simple way, you can say it holds your temporal, it holds the data temporarily. So you can say it is a temporary memory of the computer, and it holds your data for some time to process. Clear? A random access memory device also allows data items to be read or written in almost the same amount of time, irrespective of the physical location of data inside the memory. Or you can say that RAM is it is a temporary data storage. While carrying out instructions, CPU needs to hold data temporarily. Why it holds data temporarily? Because it needs to process, and it will be processed by the CPU. And how CPU will process? Because how CPU is going to process? Because data is there on the RAM for temporarily, so that after processing it, and then it gives you result on the monitor screen, and where you can make it permanent, where you can save it in your secondary memory, so it becomes permanent, and the data you have stored, it shows on your monitor screen. Clear? So RAM is a random access memory, or it is a temporary memory of the computer which stores your data for some time to process. Clear? So this was called RAM. So the figure you can see in your book also, as well on the monitor screen. Clear? That you can see here ports and connectors. As I told you in this video, that there is a port and connectors at the back side of the CPU cabinet. So these ports are very important, where you can connect your mouse, keyboard and any other input or output devices via cable. Peripherals, that are devices that you attach to a computer from outside. The back of the desktop PC shows different ports and connectors to attach different peripherals. These devices which are connected via cable are called peripheral devices. These are called peripheral devices which are connected via cable with the CPU. Clear? So you can see in the figure also, different ports are showing here: PS2 mouse, PS2 keyboard, USB port, RJ45 and some other HDMI serial. So this is called connectors and ports. Fine. In short, you can say a port serves as an interface between the computer and other computers or peripheral devices. In computer items, a port generally refers to the part of a computing device available for connection to peripherals such as input and output devices like keyboard, mouse, printer, scanner, etc, etc. Clear? I hope you must have understood this. If still you have any doubt, you can ask me later, or ask we will discuss this in the next video anytime. Clear? The next device is hard disk, or in short it is called hard drive or HDD. Clear? So hard disk is a very important part of the computer where you can store your information in long term memory. In long term memory, in the sense that you can save your data for a long period of time, that if you want it to open anytime, you can open it even after a 1 year if it is not deleted from your computer. So that's why it is called long term memory, because it saves your data for a long period of time. Clear? And it stores your data for in a huge amount, because the capacity of these hard disks are very large than other devices. Clear? It stores your data in a large amount, and in a huge amount of data you can store here. So the hard disk is the long term memory of the computer, used to persistent storage, that is, the things stored on it remain even when the computer is powered down. If your computer's power get down, then also you don't have to worry about, your data is still saved there. Once the data is saved on this device, on hard disk, if your power supply is disconnected due to any reason from your computer, then also your data is saved. No need to worry about your data, it will be still there. The operating system and all your programs and data are stored here. Whatever the data or programs that you are installing in your computer, it's going to store in the computer's memory, that is hard disk. And hard disk is a secondary storage device of the computer. Clear? You can see in the figure also in your book or on the screen as well. Clear? So you can see the figure, it is labeled with some text here, that you can see it is a spindle motor, disk, read and write head, and so on. Clear? So these are the disk where your data gets stored. The round shaped disk, if you are seeing here on the figure, so the data that you save on your computer, it gets stored on this disk. It's look like a CD, but it's not a CD. Clear? It is a disk which is inside the CPU cabinet, that is hard disk. It is the internal structure of a hard disk that you can see on the figure. Actually it is completely covered with some plastic sheet. Clear? It is the internal part, it shows here on the screen or in the book. So there is a spindle motor, you can see this motor rotates that hard disk very fast so that your data gets stored. And there is a one small head, read write head, you can see there, a black color read write head. This read write head actually opens your file when you go to open your file, when you select any file to open on the screen. So directly this head touches on the screen, directly this head touch on the disk, and your file gets open. That's why this disk is basically used to store the data. It stores your data in a huge amount of memory, that is in the capacity of these hard disks are different, like 60 GB, 160 GB, 250 GB, 500 GB, or 1 TB, 2 TB. Nowadays it is very popular. So you can store a large amount of data here in hard disk. Clear? So I hope you have understood. So next, whatever the videos will come, that we'll see. Until then, take care and keep studying. If you have any doubt, you can ask in a group, and that will be discussed afterwards.